Got my coffee here. Mm, so good. Okay. So I wanted to do this special edition on some very important critical things that I just believe get to happen or get to be discussed or talked about. Okay. Um, just so you know, I've had some pretty intense conversations with people that I love. And the conversations about what's going on, how this is impacting the world, what is going on, what news is real, what news is not real, how do we come up and formulate our own ideas about what's happening. I put my opinions out there sometimes, and people come to me and call me a political left, right, ring, right. I'm not political. You guys know this, right? I've always told you guys I don't do politics. What I do is God. And some people asking me about my opinion, and I'm like, well, hey, ask me about my opinion, and I'll tell you what my opinion is. I'll tell you what I think is going on. I'll tell you about what I prophesize and what I can foresee in human behavior. I'm not going to get into politics because for to be honest with you, some guy called me like a left wing or a right wing, or I don't even know what wings there are in politics, right? I follow the law of God, period. End of story. Okay. Don't follow human. I follow God, because God has the answers for us in everything. Now, some of my views and what I talk about may sound political because God exists in everything, right? God does exist in politics. God does exist in what's happening right now. This is a storyline that has been developed and formulated by God. What we're seeing around us is God. How we engage it, right, is our choice. God gives us the free will to engage situations the way that we choose to engage them. Good morning, Suze. So some guy called me a left wing or right wing. And then my response to him was like, excuse me, I don't fly with one wing or the other. I fly with both wings because God gave me both wings to fly with. God didn't give me a left wing or a right wing. So I don't even know what these wings mean. And I don't even understand why a political system would have one wing and then another wing and not both wings together. Like, you're supposed to have two wings to fly. Like, you're not going to clip my wings under God's law. Under God's law, I get my full wings, not clipped, and I get to take flight with those wings. Okay. So no political affiliation for me. I simply look at phenomena around me, observe what's happening, and formulate my own ideas. This, my friends, is called critical thinking. Now, I want to do a special series about critical thinking because I can't remember the date, and I should have pulled up that information that I had, but at a certain time in our educational system, they took out something called the trivium. Okay. And I think we're at a good time where we can start talking about this. If you have children, right, that are right now, you're homeschooling them, or they're not getting the education you think that they deserve, this series is going to be very critical for you parents to understand, very critical to teach your children so that they can start to think for themselves. They took this piece of information out of our education systems. Why? They took it out so that we won't be free thinkers, so that we don't think for ourselves. They programmed us so that we can follow what they are telling us or spoon feed us. Okay. So what I'm going to go over today is something called the trivium. Okay. Yes, it's all control. Exactly. And God doesn't control us. Notice that God's always given us free will. Now, he hopes, I don't know if he has hope, but he looks at us and observes us and says, well, are they going to choose righteousness, or are they going to choose their own vanity? Okay. And these are questions we get to ask ourselves. I get to ask myself. I'm human. Okay. I'm not perfect. Okay. But I love, and my intention is to support people into their divine birthright, into making up their own and formulating their own ideas. Be critical thinkers. Don't believe me. The other day, I told this guy, don't listen to me. He's like, you're absolutely right. I'm going to get off and go outside. I said, good, get off and go outside. There's no force into you being here. You're here because you want to understand something, and I'm here to teach you. You either learn it or you don't. Not my people into the podcast. I'm going to try to ignite the number of people who follow me. You either hear the message or you don't. If the person was supposed to get the message that day, they did. If they weren't, then they didn't. Okay, I have to keep my ego in check too. Am I doing this for vanity, for numbers? No, I'm doing it to support you guys. Okay, And I had to ask myself those questions. So if you show up, it's because God's saying, here's the information you need to be in front of today. If you don't, there's another message you need to be in front of, and this isn't it. That's okay. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through, I have this really awesome book that I've been writing over ages. And I sort of wrote some notes on the trivium, right? And the trivium is a 3-part series. So if you're at home teaching your children, please teach them the trivium. This will help them to be critical thinkers. This is actually the secret sauce as well to learn how to teach yourself any subject that you wish. Okay, it's used in mathematics, it's used in science, and it's taught to the people in these private institutions. They know this information, and this is exactly why they're able to do what they do to the masses, okay? And I'm going to teach you guys. Why? Because you guys get to know the truth. That's it. And I'm going to speak the truth, and I'm going to teach people the truth. Why? Because I want you guys to formulate your own ideas. Do they have to be my ideas? No. Do they have to agree with everything? No. You guys don't have to agree with anything I say. That is not the point of this platform. The point of this platform is to open up your eyes to your divine birthright, to remember who you are, to remember that you are loved, to bring you back to love all the time, bring you back to God. Okay? Now, my opinions that I formulate are based on the trivium that I do, okay? Going through the critical thinking and formulating my own ideas about how I see the world and the phenomena around me. We are simply vessels here to observe what is happening. But we also have cognition, right? Our brains, so that we can co-create with Creator. And I will say right now, this creation is a distortion of natural law. What has happened in the world, okay? Do your own research. And this is why I want you guys to do your own research. When I look at the numbers, they don't add up, okay? When we look from the scientific perspective. When I hear the World Health Organization, I get on their lives, you guys. Every day they do a briefing, and the World Health Organization, who's leading, which Trump, people don't like Trump. I know that. There's a little irk in there, but who cut off funding from. Okay. Now, here's the deal. So I want you guys just to hear the facts. This is not me making up some conspiracy theories. I was just before Spirit and Coffee, I was listening to the briefing that these people were talking about at the World Health Organization. These are the ones leading some of the charge in the health spectrum. What did they say? They said the numbers, oh, there's been only 500 and some deaths, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, every life is important, right? So I'm like, that's a lot, but it's not nearly as much. I work in tobacco prevention. More people die of lung cancer, lung disease, all these things, and we never give them a care in the world. We still allow secondhand smoke exposure at our casinos where people get sick and employees are exposed to it and people die of lung cancer. More people than what this virus has caused. And yet we don't give a two shits about them. And it's a respiratory issue. And yet these casinos will continue to allow cigarettes and big, the big tobacco companies to pay them off to have smoke. You'll have somebody wearing a mask. These are facts. I'm not judging anything. I'm just giving you the facts. A man who at the store wears a mask, comes outside, pulls his mask down and smokes a cigarette. That man is probably has a higher risk of dying of respiratory issues from lung cancer. Just a fact. But yet people don't make the connection, right? Why? It's not that they're wrong. It's not that there's anything wrong with these people. It's that they were not taught to think critically and on purpose. Okay? On purpose, they took this knowledge and wisdom out of our systems. Why? Because they want to control you. I want you guys to formulate your own ideas and thought patterns around what is going on. And that is why I'm going to share this information with you. I would have not shared this information with you in the past. Why? Because I was like, people might not be ready, but I believe people are ready at this point to start to understand and think critically for themselves. The trivium is a 3-part steps, okay? And all it is, right? It's simple, it's basic. It gives you the ability to engage in information, the facts, right? Understand and discern what is true and not true, and then to formulate an opinion on that, to be able to express and communicate. Now, the beautiful thing about this process that I love, because this is totally me, is that when you come to an understanding on a subject, when you are able to break down all the dichotomy, when you're able to understand causality, when you're able to understand the cause of something, you do not get upset when other people have opinions about it. You merely open yourself up, and you're always changing your ideas based on new information that you receive. It's flexible. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a flexible system. And why do I love that? Because we can never know everything. And for one person to say they know everything is a lie. God knows all. Okay? There are things that we don't understand. There are things that we don't know. Okay? Good morning, Yolanda. Good morning, Roberto. I'm thinking say good morning. Good morning, man and God. Good morning, Rafa. Good morning, Emmy. Good morning, Cherry. Good morning, Eat, Pray, F you. Good morning, Violet. The trivium is a beautiful system, okay? And I'm going to go over the first three things, okay? Number one is grammar. Grammar. And I've talked about this in my podcast quite often. Looking at language, understanding speech, recognizing and knowing the etymology of words. Words create. Words are the most powerful things we have to create in the world. Words are the reason why we have created what we have created in this world today. Words. We put symbols to things to describe the phenomena that we see around us. Words, like what words? Okay, so we'll look at this. This is a cup, measuring cup, right? And we look at the measuring cup and we're like, well, what does it mean to measure? It's a metric system, right? It's volume, it's how much, it's a quantity. It's how much are we putting inside of this? It's a quantity. It allows us to measure a quantity of something, of a substance. And we have different measurements to use to what? So that we can create in the physical world. What do we create with the measuring cup? Well, we put water in it, we put flour, we put whatever, we make bread. Okay? It's a tool, right? But it has a word, it has a name. Why? So that we can express and communicate to one another. So if I told somebody, go get me a measuring cup, they visually know what that looks like. They understand. There's an agreement there that this is a measuring cup. Okay? Words, grammar. Grammar is critical. Okay? So for all my readers out there, okay, people that like to read, you know that comprehension is based on the understanding of the words you're reading, right? It's do you truly understand what the word means? If you don't understand what a word means, you're never going to comprehend what the hell you're reading. You're just not going to get it. It's not going to make sense to you. You're not going to go pick up a quantum theory book and read it and understand it, because there's so many words in there that are so compact that we don't understand what the function of the word is. So you've got to understand what the function of the word is. Do you know what parts of speech are? Right? Verb, noun, adverb, adjective, preposition. Do you know all of that? Okay. This goes back to language. So the first part in the trivium is language, is grammar. Okay. Now, when we understand grammar, it answers a specific type of questions. The questions are who, what, where, and when. Okay. So for instance, the measuring cup. What is it? It's a cup that measures liquid. It's a metric system to measure something, okay? Where are we going to use it? We're going to use it in our baking, or we're going to use it where? Well, in the kitchen. We're going to use it in the kitchen, okay? And then when? Well, whenever we want to bake something. So maybe now I'm going to bake something. So when am I going to use it? When I need to measure something, I'm going to use this, okay? Who's going to use it? I am. Natalie, I am the subject, I am the noun, I am the thing that's going to be operating this. Okay. Me, Natalie. Okay. Now, we get into the second phase, and these can go very, very deep, but this is really good education for your children. If you guys have children and you want me to teach them this, I could come up with a curriculum to support them, because I know parents are probably dying, perhaps trying to teach their children some educational stuff. If you find any videos on the trivium, please teach your children this, and they will learn to teach themselves any subject that they desire to learn. Any subject. Mathematics, science, biology, chemistry, whatever subject. Psychology, whatever it is, right? Religion, right? Philosophy, okay? Now we get into the logic part. The logic part answers the why, okay? And logic is systematically eliminating all contradictions. Here is what logic does. Logic allows us to understand the polarities in anything, the differences between. It allows us to distinguish distinctions. It allows us to understand the duality in all that exists. Okay? So black and white, up and down. If we looked at the law of gravity, we can say what goes up must come down. Okay? There's a cause and effect, right? The cause and effect happen, okay? And it's ever flowing, okay? So we have black and white. But in each subject, we have these dichotomies, right? It's almost like a catch-22 in certain things. Like, for instance, well, love and fear, we say that they're different, but yet they're part of the same whole. How does that make sense? How do we make sense of two things that seem seemingly different, which I've talked about polarities or separation of something, and bridge it into oneness? There is, in any argument that you have, you can come to an agreement that there are two sides, but they're part of the same whole. Hard one to understand. Logic gets a little bit different. But when we break down these distinctions, when we understand the duality, now we have a choice. We can make choice from educated understanding of things. And in our logic, it can never be broken down because causality comes from the one source. You could never, ever, for me, steer me away from the fact that there is God. For me, God is causality, the ultimate, right? Now, God, I just use the word God. Okay, that's not, it's the universe, the everything, whatever you guys call it, right? I use the word God, and I tell you guys that because it's easy for me. So God, when you use the word God, we could say Yahweh. It's probably a better word. Okay. So if we looked at Yahweh to describe God were fire letters for the ultimate causality of everything, which manifests in just what is. It is what is. But in this dimension that we live in this particular realm that we live in, we are of flesh. And because we are so dense, and because we have flesh in a physical body, and we have two eyes, and we have the senses, we utilize our senses to understand the phenomena in the world around us. These are facts. You can't change that. It's a fact. You have two eyes and you're seeing. Now, some people may not have a sight, and that's okay. Some people do, most people do. One thing's for certain, you have a physical body. The way it functions is going to be different for everybody, okay? You have a physical body in this realm, in this world, in this planet. 2, you did not create it. You did not create the trees. You did not create your beating heart. You did not create the arms and the fingers and the toes and the mouth and the thoughts and the da 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 da. Da. You didn't create it. It was already here. Okay. You were just designed in the image that you came in. You came from the mother's womb, but you did not create the womb. So you can understand, for me, the causality for me is a grand design, a creator, a something greater than us, something. I didn't do it, you didn't do it. Prove to me that you did it, that you made human. Didn't. Okay. Logic is answering the why. Now, why were things made? Why are we here to participate in this world? Why? And we ponder this, and this is where distortion comes in. And this is why we are in the state that we are in right now, with all of these theories coming up and people throwing this and people wanting to fight over it. Don't protest, you're bad. Don't do this, you're bad. You know what? Who are you to judge? Number one, go ahead, judge. You're right. But who are you to judge? Why are you judging? Who gave you the authority to judge? Logic answers the why. Why? Why are we in this situation? Why? Why are we in this current situation? When it comes from my grammar and my logic, I say we're in this situation because God, everything is God. And if I brought it back to Yahweh, we'll say, well, God, well, why did God do this to us? He didn't do it to us. Okay. God simply said, you get to choose. And this is what we chose. And people say, well, no, we didn't choose this. Yes, you did. You're participating. You are participating in all this. You're participating in either staying home or not staying home. You're participating in either protesting or not protesting. You're participating in either understanding out the information and the facts or not understanding the information and the facts. You're participating if you're not saying anything and you're staying in your house. You're participating if you're wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. You can't escape the participation of what is going on because it's God and you can't live outside of God. Now, the important thing, and this is the big kicker, this is where logic and this way of thinking is important. We have a choice. That's it. You have free will. You have a choice to choose what you want to do and how you want to engage. Now, in that choice, it will lead to what? It'll lead to to some sort of result, to an effect, to a consequence, to whatever you want to call it. Okay. And then rhetoric is the how. It answers the how. Right now, people are stuck in logic or grammar right now. As we're looking at this from a bigger perspective, right? This virus thing happened and it turned everybody for a whirlwind, especially those who don't have this information that I'm giving you. Okay. They're just going to follow what everybody tells them because they don't know how to think. It's not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with somebody who wasn't given this information. It was purposefully not given to you so that you wouldn't think for yourself, so that you would forget that you have free will, so that you would forget that you have choice. You can choose the way you want and still have respect for other people's choices. I choose not to wear a mask. That is my choice. That is my God-given right to choose. Now, I don't make people wrong for wearing masks. If they feel like it protects them, if they feel safe, that is their choice. If they can give me a good reason why a mask works, which I've done a lot of studying about, and it says that more than not, it doesn't work. It doesn't protect you from this quote unquote virus. The best thing it can protect you from is secondhand smoke exposure at a casino, and nobody wears those. Okay. So those are facts. Okay. That's a fact. You go into a casino, nobody's wearing masks, but they'll expose themselves to respiratory issues all day long in secondhand smoke exposure. That's a fact. There's smoke happening. There's secondhand smoke. These are just facts, you guys. Not right, wrong, good, or bad. A fact. I'd rather wear a mask to a casino so I don't get all that secondhand smoke pollution, even though that probably wouldn't work either because masks don't really do that. Okay. So that's one. Okay. And that's my choice based on the data that I have collected. But I'm not going to make people wrong for doing it. Go ahead, wear a mask if that's how you feel that you feel protected. You have some information that shows that these masks, if you can give me big data that shows me that perhaps these masks will help me not get this virus, it's not going to work, right? Okay, not a judgment call, just the facts. That's it. Okay? How people engage is up to them. Right now, we are stuck in the who, the what, the where, and the when. And some are stuck in the why. Why is this happening? Okay. Why do I do this? Why am I doing that? Why this? Why that? Some people are just stuck there. And rarely, if you don't know how to get through these things, will you get to what's called rhetoric. Okay. Rhetoric is utilizing valid knowledge to and expressing it authentically. So when you understand the dichotomy, right? The dichotomy for me, and I'm gonna walk you through what I think, and you guys have every right to your understanding of the phenomena based on this process, okay? I base my process on God. God to me is everything. Everything is God. Nothing is outside of God. There's nothing outside of God. How could that be? Okay. I'm asking, how could that be? Can you tell me that we can go outside of this phenomena? We can't reach the outskirts. We can't even find this tiniest particle. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller. There's always something there. Why? Because nothing's outside of God. I don't know what realms we're trying to get to. We're trying to be above God or expand out of God. How could you? If God was this circle and God is everything inside and out and around and everything, and there's nothing out here and it just expands, how could you be outside of it? We cannot be outside of it. We're in it. We're inside of it. Okay. Now, inside of it, in my logic, I'm going to walk you through my logic so you understand what I'm talking about. Nothing is outside of it. Now, inside of this particular dimension, our body or whatever, I 100% trust God. I trust God's nature. I trust God's law. So why don't I wear a mask? Because I trust that God gave me the perfect remedy. God gave me healing. God gave me a body. God gave me a body that was designed perfectly perfect in his image. I don't have to wear a mask and be afraid of God's natural world because God gave the natural world to us. We were born onto this natural world. We were derived from this natural world. We were either born on this natural world and evolved from this natural world, that our environment was meant for us to be here and live here. Now, if something comes as a threat to kill us, part of the process in nature, in the laws that we live under in this particular dimension, tells us that we will perish. And that if we perish, it is our time. And if it's our time, that's okay. This is me, though. I am okay with death. If death comes knocking on my door, I will embrace it and say, thank you, God, for giving me the time I had. I used it, hopefully, in your eyes, in your image, the way it was supposed to be. Okay. Now, why? For me, this whole thing, the why, the big why of that this is happening for me. Now, for you guys, make up your own ideas. This is why I'm giving this process to you so that you can understand and think critically for yourself. For me, it's so that people can wake up and remember who they are. Remember that they are God and that they are a part of this entire thing and that they are love. And that they can create what they want in this world. They have every right to, and that they have choice. That we were given the gift of choice. Why? Because there's duality. If there was no duality, there would be no choice. Okay? There would be no choice if there was no duality. Why would we have to choose if there wasn't duality? If there wasn't black and white, we wouldn't have to choose between black and white. We would just be one or the other. But that's not the case here. We don't view the world that way. There's dichotomies everywhere. So we have choice. But they've taken that out. They've taken the choice out. They're telling you do this and you just listen. Well, why are you doing it? Do you even know why you're doing it? Do you understand why you're doing it? If you do and you're doing it and you're standing firm in why you're doing it, that's fine. Cool. Are you open to new information to change your idea of why you're doing it? Hopefully. That's the trick. Give me some information that makes sense. And then I'll say, okay, I'm listening. I'll listen. I'll listen. And then I come up with my own. Hey, Will, is that you from the Philippines? Oh my God, if it is, I haven't seen you in a long time. Very happy to see you on here. And if it is, Will, please share what's going on in the Philippines with us. I had been wanting to talk to you about what's going on in the Philippines. Okay, rhetoric is one of the most critical points to get to. When we get to rhetoric, so it's like, so what, Natalie? So what about grammar and answering these questions and being in the why? And who cares? The last thing is how. The how is once you get to the separation of ideas, once you understand that you have a choice between black and white, once you understand that you have a choice between light and dark, once you understand that you have a choice between vanilla or chocolate ice cream, once you understand that you have choice, now what are you going to do? Who cares? For me, it's speaking to you guys and teaching you guys. Expressing it. I choose, okay, to be a light worker. Okay, how are you going to do that? I choose to be a dark worker. How are you going to do that? And we have people who choose. There is a choice point, and in Masonic principles, Masonic practices, and all these people with these secret societies get to a point where they have to choose. You choose the light or you choose the dark. The way it works. We know this. It's not a conspiracy theory. This is just simple nature. This is the world that we live in. We live in a world of duality. We live in a world of choice between one or the other. You can choose manipulation. Definitely your choice. Go ahead. Use manipulation. There's a consequence. Okay. Use the light. There's a consequence. And maybe consequence has a negative connotation. That's fine. You have to choose a consequence, but there's a result to choosing how you choose. Now, if your intention is not to inflict harm upon others, if your intention is to use love and kindness and compassion and understanding and whatever it is, that you ground yourself in that, you understand that that's where it's coming from, that that's what your intention is, right? Where is your intention coming from? And you bring yourself back to that, and that's how you co-create. Grammar being 1, logic 2, rhetoric 3. The words that we express. Notice that in this podcast, in this particular live stream that I do, I bring it back to love. This is not about making people right, wrong, good, or bad. The only thing this thing stands for is love. God and love, period. End of story. It's not going to change. The intention of this will never change. Now, we'll go on journeys down the rabbit hole. But to think critically for yourself, you guys, understand what they're feeding you. Go and read the language. I was just on the World Health Organization. I am not talking to you guys about woo-woo conspiracy theories and being a right-wing political person and a left-wing blah, 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 blah. I'll tell you why I say the things that I do. It's with a lot of reading and understanding and listening to language. And on the World Health Organization today, what they were talking about was not about the virus. They were talking about setting up infrastructures figuring out what the gaps are in the medical systems to set up infrastructure so that they can give us a vaccine. That's it. That's what they were talking about. That they need money to do this, and that you're going to give them money, and that we need the entire world to be on board with this vaccination process. That's what they said. They weren't talking about the people that died. They weren't talking about how they were going to feed people healthy food, because when your immune system is good, this virus will be fought off on its own. They didn't talk about all those things. Those are facts, you guys. You can go and read them from the doctors. The doctors say if you have a healthy immune system, more people are getting over this than not getting over it. This is not conspiracy. This is just simple reading information. Coming up with your own conclusions about how you can best approach your life. What can you do for yourself? How do you use this information to support you? Should I start taking vitamin C? Should I start drinking OSHA and lemon and all these proper herbs and spices in the morning to support my immunity? Should I start eating food that's going to support my body? Like blueberries and strawberries that are anti-inflammatory? Or what am I going to do for myself? Am I going to quit smoking cigarettes? Maybe I'm a smoker and I'm going to quit smoking cigarettes because that's bad for my respiratory health. Am I going to start walking every evening so that I can start moving my lungs and my heart? What are you going to do for yourself to get healthier? That is why I won't take a vaccination, because I didn't formulate it. I trust God. I trust the curanderas. I trust old ways and traditions. They've always been fine with curing us. And if my body perishes because it wasn't ready to go through what it was supposed to, then that just means it's okay. It's okay. My body wasn't meant to last forever. Our bodies are not. That's another fact. That's not me being harsh or mean. I'm just giving you guys facts and information. You formulate how you want to engage the information. You think critically about how you want to operate. If you want to continue to wear a mask, then so be it. If you want to continue to smoke cigarettes, then so be it. If you want to continue to eat food that's not helping support your immunity, then so be it. It's your choice. But understand the choices that you're making. Understand the consequences that come with those choices. Take full responsibility for the choices that you make. We can't take full responsibility for the choices we make if we're missing information. And they purposefully take out this information so that the choices that we're making are formulated off what they food feed us. Spoon feed us. Oh my God, I can't say that word. But try to say that. It's really spoon feed us. Spoon feed us. Okay. Think for yourself. Think critically. You guys are super intelligent. You guys are super wise, right? This is wisdom. This is how wisdom is created. Knowledge is one thing, but wisdom's quite another. Knowledge is simple. We can read a book and understand, but to apply that knowledge is wisdom. To apply the information that we read, to apply it is wisdom. Are you choosing from a place of wisdom? Are you choosing from a place of fear? Where are your choices coming from? This will give you the process to understand. In a child, this is such a beautiful message for kids to understand how to think for themselves, think critically for themselves. This was taken out of our school systems purposefully. It just was. They want people to be a product of what they want us to be. They want us to follow them like they want us to follow them. And by them, I mean these institutions and structures that were designed by people who have a lot of wealth. Now, the people that have wealth, they are bought off. a lot of it comes from big money, right? And money of what? Like property, like I own this or that. Let's go back to scripture. Let's go back to understanding God. I will always bring it back to God. God says we own nothing. Everything we have here is borrowed. We're on borrowed time. We're on borrowed food. We're on borrowed. We did not create it. How are we to put stakes in the land and say, this is mine? Tell that to the Vatican, not being mean, just giving facts. The Vatican has tons of property. And how many people occupy that space? How many homeless people are there? How much food do you think the Vatican has? How much food? And then in the name of God, they will say, I'm going to give this, but yet they won't give space. Do you think they'd let the homeless sleep in the actual Vatican? I'd like to see them open their doors and let the homeless come in and sleep there. There was a passage in the Bible that I absolutely love. And Jesus Christ, and this is what I feel like doing sometimes, is going in there and said, you have made a mockery of God's house. He throws everything. He had a temper tantrum and he throws everything in the marketplace. You've made this house a marketplace. How much gold and jewels does the Vatican have? How much of that are they sharing with the people? Hmm? You think that they would let that crown be put on anybody? No. You think they'd let a homeless person sit on their pedestal? No. We are equal under God's eye. The thing is, we don't have choice, or we think we don't have choice. That has been ripped away from us. Okay? When you follow God, if you follow Christ, if you follow whatever you follow, okay, whatever you follow, there's a lot of Christians on here, I'm sure. If you follow Christ, notice what Christ's message says. Okay, Jesus Christ was a humble man, right? If you're Buddhist, Buddha was a humble man. Gandhi, humble. Mother Teresa, humble. All of these great leaders were humble. They weren't sitting on a gold platform telling the masses to do what they wanted. They were simple. And they had one message. And their message was to come to God. Because the kingdom of God is here. Right here in front of you. Everywhere. Inside of you. Not on some pedestal. Not on some fear-based programming. But to have true faith in God is to be able to walk in fear and know that God's going to take care of you. I will walk off a million cliffs for God. But I will not bow down to man because man is not God. And what do they say? Let he who live without sin cast the first stone. We are all flawed here. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. That's what Jesus, I love the messages of Jesus Christ because they're so humble and beautiful. He said, let he who live without sin cast the first stone. Nobody can do it. And today no one can do it. The humility. We've in these beautiful people who led the masses, who led people to what we call the promised land. These people who woke up a nation of individuals. They didn't lead them on fancy chariots. What did it say? Jesus Christ came on an ass, right? On a donkey. Moses came after being in the desert to, who knows, his feet were probably bleeding. He didn't come on some fancy chariot saying, I'm going to ride my people off to the promised land. When has that ever happened? You think these institutions, you think all of these people are going to lead you to the promised land while they sit on their high chairs and look down upon you? Who are they? They've made a mockery of God's house. That's what they've done. All of us, okay? All of us together have done this. I'll put myself in there too because I'm part of the human experience, right? But they can't take away your ability to think critically. They can't take that away from you. They can't take away the fact that you have God inside of you. And if you remember that every day, they can't take that away from you. They can't take away who you are. If you know who you are, how can they take that away? They can't. I just watched 1984. Never seen the film. Okay. Pretty difficult to watch. Can't say it's one of my favorite movies. Very dark and somber. But at the end of the day, I love the message, and that's why I'm bringing it up. At the end of the day, they couldn't take away his love because God is love. That's it. God is love. And they tortured him. They said he was wrong for loving, for fornicating, for whatever he was doing, that he was wrong for that. And he lied so that he could save himself. He lied. He did. He said, please, I don't love her. Go kill that woman. Don't kill me. I don't want rats eating my face or whatever it was. It was pretty grotesque. I probably have done the same thing. I thought, would I do the same thing? I'm like, yeah, I would. I probably would. That was really, really horrific. That scares me, right? To be tortured is scary. That's scary for me. Not death, but torture to death. Oh, that's scary, scary thought. Okay. And Jesus Christ did it, right? So tortured to death, but at the end of the day, what did he say? I love her. I love her. It didn't matter. They couldn't deprogram that from him because it inherently was given to him through the grace of God. I say God. Please think for yourself, you guys. Please. Good morning, bestie. We are a bunch of sinners. I love you, Mom. Mhm. We are, all of us. But we have the ability and the choice. So, you guys, please, 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 I urge you, I beg you, don't listen to me. Don't listen to what I'm telling you about my opinions and how I come to my conclusions. Learn it for yourself. Come to your own conclusions for yourself and make your choices based on this process. If you do that, you will not be shaken. You'll be like a tree that comes and high winds come and stays standing after the storm. No storm can break you down. The storm cannot break you down when you stand firm in this. Okay? Teach this to your children. This is what's important right now, that children don't lose the understanding of how to be a critical thinker, how to think for themselves, and then how to walk in their divine birthright, because it is a choice and we can choose powerfully. And the kiddos are the ones who get to understand this, the next generation. If you have children and you're like, I want them to understand this particular way of thinking, which was taken out of our school systems purposefully, it's simple: grammar, logic, rhetoric. And you can teach yourself any subject. based on this process. For me, God, always and forevermore. First thing on my mind when I wake up, on my mind all day, on my mind when I go to sleep, on my mind, always on my mind. Talking to God, always. Okay. Thank you so much. I didn't get sad. I don't know if you're still on here. Ate the good long road or something like that. Okay. So the I was crying because I want people to remember who they are. And I get very, very passionate about teaching people that they matter and that they're enough and that they can do this and that they have the ability to understand the skill set, and to think critically and to reach out and to find their divine nature, and that they are one with God, and that God lives within them and dwelleth within them, within their heart and with everything that they are. And so, I cry when I talk about spiritual beings that walk this earth, that have done such amazing spiritual beautimous stuff. Thanks, bestie. And that brings me to the next thing that I want. Thank you. Bless you as well, Suze. And thank you for continuing show up. Um, Beautiful soul, you. As my bestie puts on hearts, what I wanted to talk about. So my bestie, and I'm sure you didn't know I was going to talk about the trivium. I think I kind of told you, but in the trivium, they talk about the how. And I want to bring this up a little bit because that's what I'm going to be going over eventually is how. Okay. The how is, how do we create in this new world? Now, my bestie brought this up to me. Good morning, Natalie. My name's Natalie. um, and he brought this up to me. He said, look, bestie, I have all these people and they're, constantly saying stuff, but what are you going to do? If they do these mass vaccines, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go to the mountains. I'd rather go to the mountains and die in the mountains than to be property of man, because I'm not property of man, I'm property of God. Thank you very much. Okay. And he said, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to tell people? What are you going to tell them to do? So here's the deal. We don't know. I don't 100% know that they're going to mandate and force us into these microchip things. If they do, I can guarantee you will no longer see me on social media, hear me on social media, unless I can get an internet connection. But if it's, you have to do this, I'm going to say I'm out and I'm going to bail. I'm not going to be a part of it. Will not. Now, some people might want to be a part of it. And if you want to, I pray that you don't. What do we do? And it was a great question from my friend, my bestie. And I said, well, I'm no Moses. And I don't, who am I to lead people somewhere, because I'm just Natalie. Who am I? You know, um, just a humble person trying to teach people, how to think for themselves. And so I will give you tips and tricks and pointers. If you choose not to enter in a system that may not support your beliefs, and you don't believe in being chipped and microchipped and it freaks you out or whatever, how do we get through those times? What do we need to do to prepare? And how do we get outside of that? I will go over those things with you guys, okay? And this becomes the how of this entire process of, rhetoric. How? Now, there's going to be logic and there's going to be grammar involved in that, because that's the process we use to think critically, not to just act out of haste, right? To be proactive instead of reactive. How do we become proactive in our approaches to what is next? Okay. And that is what I will be working on. And to teach you guys, how do we walk away from a system we may not want to be a part of anymore? Now, remember this. Moses led his people out of a system they didn't want to be a part of anymore. And guess what? Some people wanted to go back. It's not easy to let go of certain things because there's certain comfortable measures. There's a level of comfortability in us in the system. But when we become property of a state or property of a man, I won't do it. I don't care what comforts I got to give up because I understand that I am God. And God is the only one who has authority over me. So, in that, right, understanding, most people are thinking that way. What do we do so that we can move ourselves in a position to say, this is not the system I choose to be in? Thank you. Let my people go. I love that saying by Moses. Let my people go. Let them go. Leave us alone and let us go. Because God knows that that's what I will be doing. I may not have a staff. I'll make a staff and I'll be like, let us go. We don't want to be here. Okay. We don't know if that's to come, but if it is, how do you prepare for it? Okay. And so I will give you guys some information, nothing to be afraid of, right? Just think logically for yourself and make moves and know that God is with you. Know that God is always with you. Please always come back to God. Do things in the name of God. God will always be there to support you. God loves you. Okay. Yay. Okay. So I love you guys. Have a fantastic day. We can go more into the trivium and logic. We can go into the quadrivium, which is a whole nother set of teachings. If you guys have kiddos that you want, please send me an email. I'll send you the article so that you can understand how to engage this type of information for your children to start to understand how to think this way. And you can email me at spiritandbrew@gmail.com. That is spiritandbrew@gmail.com. I'll give you the information so that you can start to teach your children this information, okay? I can also do a live for children if that's something you guys want, but I need you guys to say, this is what I want. And then I can see if I can engage on some pretty, you know, elementary level type stuff that would support kiddos into understanding how to think for themselves. Okay, awesome. So I love you guys. Have a great day, and I will be seeing you guys tomorrow. Bye.